No one could explain why the alien queen protected me, until I heard the truth. The incident. The translation booth trembled as another explosion rocked the Meridian station. Through the reinforced glass, I watched chaos unfold in the main conference hall where humanity's first official diplomatic meeting with the Virulons was supposed to make history. Instead, it was making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Translator Caney. General Morrison's voice crackled through my earpiece. Get out of there now. But I couldn't move. Below me, towering 8-foot Virellan warriors in their biomechanical suits were locked in combat with Earth Defense Force soldiers. The air shimmered with plasma fire and the metallic tang of discharged weapons. What should have been a peaceful first contact had devolved into a bloodbath after someone, no one knew who, had fired the first shot. That's when I saw her. The Virellan queen stood nearly 10 feet tall, her chitinous exoskeleton gleaming like polished obsidian. Her forearms moved with deadly precision, deflecting incoming fire while her soldiers pressed forward. But then she stopped. Her large, multifaceted eyes locked onto my booth, and everything seemed to freeze. A plasma bolt, meant for retreating human diplomats, streaked toward Ambassador Valdez. The queen moved faster than anything that size should have been able to, intercepting the shot with her own body. But that wasn't what made everyone stop fighting. She was looking at me. Impossible, I whispered, watching as she began moving through the battlefield. Not toward the humans she was supposedly protecting, but toward my translator booth. Her warriors followed, creating a protective corridor through the carnage. The booth's door exploded inward, and suddenly, I was face to face with Earth's first alien monarch. Up close, her exoskeleton showed intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with bioluminescent life. When she spoke, her voice came through a translation device, but there was something hauntingly familiar about the underlying harmonics. You will not be harmed, she said, extending one of her massive clawed hands toward me. I give my word as Queen Zephyra of the Virulon Collective. I don't understand, I stammered, but she was already ushering me behind her protective bulk as more shots rang out. Stand down, she commanded, and incredibly both sides began to comply. The Queen's presence was absolute. When she spoke, even the humans seemed compelled to listen. Captain Reynolds, leading the EDF squad, raised his weapon uncertainly. Queen Zephyra, step away from the civilian. We can resolve this peacefully. He is under my protection, she replied, her free hand resting on my shoulder with surprising gentleness. Any who would harm him must first go through me. The standoff stretched for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Finally, Secretary of Defense Hawthorne's voice echoed through the station's communication system. All units, stand. Down. Repeat, all units stand down, we're evacuating. As the various factions began their careful withdrawal, Queen Zephyra never left my side. She escorted me personally to the evacuation shuttle, her massive form shielding me from the suspicious stares of my own species. Why? I asked as we reached the shuttle bay. Why protect me? I'm nobody special, just a translator. Her compound eyes seemed to study me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. You are far more than you know, Marcus Caney, she said, using my full name, though I'd never given it to her. The bonds that tie us together run deeper than either of our species understands. In time, you will remember what you have forgotten. Before I could ask what she meant, she was gone, disappearing, back into the station with her warriors. I was left standing in the shuttle bay, surrounded by confused humans and with more questions than answers. The shuttle ride back to Earth was silent, except for the whispered conversations of the diplomatic staff. I caught fragments. Unprecedented. Security breach. Possible contamination. But all I could think about was the way the Queen had looked at me, as if she knew something about me that I didn't know about myself. Something that would change everything. The interrogation. The holding. Cell at Blackrock Military Facility wasn't technically a prison, but the locks worked the same way. For 3 weeks, I'd been subjected to every test, scan, and interview the combined intelligence agencies could devise. Blood samples, psychological evaluations, polygraph tests, even experimental brain scans looking for signs of alien influence. Dr. Nathaniel Voss, the lead xenobiologist on the case, sat across from me in the sterile interview room for what felt like the 100th time. His gray eyes held the same mixture of scientific curiosity and barely contained suspicion I'd grown accustomed to. "Let's go through it again, Marcus," he said, activating the recording device between us. "The Queen's exact words when she first approached you. Same as before. You will not be harmed. I give my word as Queen Zephyra of the Varellan Collective." I rubbed my temples, feeling the familiar headache building. The dreams had gotten worse over the past few days. Strange visions of crystalline structures and impossible geometries. That felt more like memories than imagination. "And you maintain you'd never seen her before? Never had any contact with Varellan advanced scouts?" "For the last time, no. The first time I saw any Varellan was when they arrived at Meridian Station." I leaned back in the uncomfortable chair. "Look, I'm as confused as you are. I'm a linguistics professor who happened to speak 6 languages fluently. That's why I got recruited for the translation team. There's nothing special about me. Director." Catherine Wolfe entered the room, her expression grim. As head of the newly formed Xenological Threat Assessment Division, she'd been the one pushing for more aggressive interrogation techniques. I'd overheard enough conversations to know there was a faction within the government that wanted me classified as a potential enemy asset. "Professor Caney," she said, taking a seat beside Dr. Voss. "We've received new intelligence from our monitoring stations. 3 more Varellan ships have entered the Sol system. They're requesting specifically to speak with you." My blood ran cold. "What?" "They're calling you Kinheart of the Deep Current," she continued, watching my reaction carefully. "Ring any bells?" The phrase hit me like a physical blow. Images flashed through my mind. Vast underwater cities, beings that moved through liquid space. A voice singing in harmonics that made my bones ache with recognition. I gripped the table as the room spun around me. "The dreams," I gasped. "They're not dreams, are they?" Dr. Voss leaned forward intently. "What dreams, Marcus? You haven't mentioned dreams before." "Because I thought I was going crazy." I pressed, my palms against my eyes, trying to stop the cascade of images. Cities underwater, but not water. Something else. And voices. Singing voices that sound like whale songs mixed with Varellan communication patterns, Director Wolfe finished. "We've been analyzing the linguistic samples from the first contact. Their language has harmonic components that shouldn't be audible to human ears." "But I can hear them," I whispered. "In the dreams, I understand what they're saying." The 2 officials exchanged glances. Dr. Voss pulled out a tablet and began swiping through files. "Marcus, I need to ask you some questions about your background. Your adoption records show you were found at a children's home in Portland when you were 6 months old. No birth parents listed. So, lots of people are adopted. Not lots of people have anomalous genetic markers in their DNA," Director Wolfe said quietly. "Markers that don't match any known human populations." The room fell silent except for the hum of the air recycling system. I stared at them, feeling like the floor was about to give way beneath me. "What are you saying?" "We're saying that you might not be entirely human," Dr. Voss replied. "And if that's true, then the Queen's behavior makes a lot more sense." Before I could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as an automated voice announced, "Attention all personnel. Unidentified craft approaching. Restricted airspace. This is not a drill." Through the small window, I could see shapes descending from the sky, organic-looking vessels that seemed to pulse with their own internal light. Varellan ships, coming to Earth, coming for me. "They're here," I said, and somehow I knew this was only the beginning. The escape. The facility shook as the Varellan ships landed in the compound's main courtyard. Through the reinforced walls, I could hear the distinctive harmonic thrumming of their communication systems, a sound that seemed to resonate in my bones, like a tuning fork. Dr. Voss was frantically packing data tablets while Director Wolf barked orders into her communicator. I want a full lockdown, no one in or out until... Her words were cut short as the lights flickered and died. Emergency. Power kicked in, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. Then, impossibly, a section of the outer wall began to dissolve, revealing the night sky beyond. Nanomolecular disassembly, Dr. Voss breathed. They're taking the building apart at the atomic level. A figure stepped through the opening. Not a Virellan, but a human woman in her 50s with prematurely white hair and eyes that blazed with desperate intensity. She wore a lab coat over tactical gear and carried what looked like a modified plasma cutter. Dr. Lydia Castellanos, she announced, though her attention was focused entirely on me. Former head of the Titan Research Initiative. Marcus, we need to leave. Now. You can't just... Director Wolf began, reaching for her sidearm. Actually, I can. Dr. Castellanos raised her weapon and I saw it wasn't aimed at the director but at the floor between us. The concrete began to bubble and smoke. Molecular disruption field. Very messy if you're standing in it. Who are you? I demanded, though something about her face seemed familiar. Someone who's been waiting 32 years to meet you, she replied. Your mother asked me to watch over you, Marcus. She made me promise that if the Virellans ever came back, I'd make sure you learned the truth. The building shook again, and through the dissolving wall I could see Virellan warriors forming a perimeter around the facility. They weren't attacking. They were waiting. My mother? My mother is dead. Has been since I was a baby. No, Doctor, Castellano said softly. She's not, and neither is the part of you that isn't human. Director Wolf raised her weapon, but Dr. Voss grabbed her arm. Wait. The quantum resonance patterns in his DNA. They match theoretical models for Virellan genetic structures. If she's telling the truth, then he's the key to everything, Dr. Castellanos finished. The Meridian Accords, the failed first contact, the reason the Virellans have been watching our system for 3 decades. Marcus, you were born on Titan, in a research facility studying a crashed Virellan ship. Your mother was the lead xenobiologist. My head spun as fragments of memory suddenly clicked into place. A woman with kind eyes singing lullabies that weren't quite human. The smell of recycled air in hydroponic gardens. The feeling of swimming through liquid that wasn't water, surrounded by beings of impossible beauty. The dreams, I whispered. Genetic memory, she confirmed. Passed down through Virellan biomatrices. You're remembering your other parent, Marcus, the one who gave you half your DNA. The wall behind her finished dissolving, and Queen Zephyra stepped through. Up close, I could see the intricate patterns on her exoskeleton weren't just decorative. They were actively shifting, displaying complex emotions in a language I was only beginning to understand. Kinhart, she said, and her harmonic voice bypassed my ears entirely, speaking directly to something deep in my genetic memory. You have grown strong in the dry space of your birth world. You know me, I said, and it wasn't a question. I helped create you, she replied. 32 cycles ago, when the Treaty of Deep Currents was signed between our peoples, you were to be the bridge, living proof that our species could share more than space and resources. We could share identity itself. Director Wolf lowered her weapon, staring at the Queen in shock. The Titan Research Initiative was a joint operation. Secret even from most of both our governments, Dr. Castellanos confirmed. When the extremist factions on both sides learned of the hybrid program, they tried to destroy it. Your mother fled back to Earth with you, Marcus. The Queen returned to Virellan space, and the project was buried. Until now, Queen Zephyra added. The Deep Current clan has returned to finish what they started 32 cycles ago. They see you as an abomination, Kinhart. Proof that our species can be corrupted by contact with yours. And if they kill me? The war between our peoples becomes inevitable, she said. You are the last hope for peace, the last proof that we can coexist. Through the opening, I could see more ships arriving, these ones clearly military, bristling with weapons that seemed to grow from their organic hulls. Not the diplomatic vessels that had brought the Queen, but something far more dangerous. Choose quickly, Marcus, Dr. Castellanos urged. We can try to run, hide you somewhere they can't find you. Or, I asked, though I already knew the answer. Or you come with me, Queen Zephyra said. Learn what you truly are. Discover the power that flows in your hybrid blood. Become what you were born to be. The building shook again as the first enemy ships began their descent. In the distance, I could hear the whine of human aircraft scrambling to respond. War was coming whether I chose it or not. But maybe, just maybe, I could be the one to stop it. Part 4. The Awakening the Virilan Ship. Deep Current's echo was unlike anything human technology could have prepared me for. Its corridors weren't built. They had grown like the inside of some vast organism. Bioluminescent panels pulsed with soft light, and the air itself seemed to carry traces of the harmonic language that made my bones resonate. Queen Zephyra led me through passages that seemed to reconfigure themselves as we moved, the walls flowing, like liquid while remaining solid to the touch. Dr. Castellanos stayed close behind, her scientific mind clearly overwhelmed by what she was witnessing. The ship responds to genetic signatures, the Queen explained as we walked. Your hybrid nature allows you to interface with both human and Virilan technology. You are, in essence, a living translator between our civilizations. We entered a vast chamber filled with what looked like crystalline trees growing from the floor and ceiling. Each one pulsed with different colors, and as we approached, I felt a strange tugging sensation in my chest, as if something inside me was trying to reach out toward them. The memory gardens, Queen Zephyra said. Here, genetic memories are stored and shared among the collective. Your mother, your human mother, Dr. Rachel Thorne, worked with us to ensure your memories would activate when you were ready. Now? I asked. Why not when I was younger? Because the process would have killed you, Dr. Castellanos answered. Your human neural pathways needed to mature first. Even now, the integration is dangerous. As if summoned by her words, pain lanced through my skull. Images flooded my mind. Not the vague dreams I'd been having, but crystal-clear memories that felt more real than my own childhood. I saw myself as an infant in a biotank filled with luminescent fluid, watched over by both human scientists and Virilan biotechnicians. I remembered the feeling of swimming through the ship's nutrient baths, my hybrid physiology allowing me to breathe both air and the oxygenated gel that Virilans used for long-term space travel. The memories are integrating, Queen Zephyra observed. Good. You'll need them for what's coming. Through the ship's organic viewports, I could see the Earth growing smaller as we accelerated away from the planet. Behind us, a fleet of dark Virilan vessels followed. The Deep Current clan's warships intent on destroying what they saw as genetic contamination. They'll attack Earth to get to me, I realized, the weight of millions of lives settling on my shoulders. Not if we can prove that the hybrid program achieved its goals, the Queen replied. Marcus, you were designed to be more than just a bridge between species. You were meant to be a new form of life entirely, one that could unite the biological advantages of both our peoples. She led me to the center of the memory garden, where a single massive crystal grew from the floor like a twisted spear of light. Place your hands on the core memory, she instructed. Let it show you what you truly are. I hesitated, looking back at Dr. Castellanos. She nodded grimly. Your mother's final message is in there, Marcus. Everything she couldn't tell you while she was alive. The crystal felt warm under my palms, and suddenly I was no longer in the ship. I stood in a laboratory on Titan, watching a younger version of Dr. Castellanos work alongside my human mother and a group of Virilan scientists. The cooperation between species was seamless, beautiful, exactly what both sides had hoped to achieve. Then the memory shifted, and I saw my mother's face, older and worn with worry. She was speaking directly to me, her words somehow encoded in the crystal structure. Marcus, she said, and I could feel the love in her voice across 3 decades. If you're seeing this, then the time has come for you to choose who you'll become. You are the child of 2 worlds carrying the best of both species in your genetic code. But more than that, you're the proof that love can transcend the boundaries of evolution itself. The memory dissolved, replaced by another, this one showing the true scope of the project. I wasn't the only hybrid. There had been others, children created from the genetic material of various virulent castes combined with human DNA. But one by one, they had been hunted down and killed by extremists from both species. I was the last. The Deep Current clan believes that genetic purity is the only path to strength, Queen Zephyr explained as I pulled my hands away from the crystal. They fear that hybridization will weaken the collective, make us vulnerable to conquest. And what do you believe? I asked. I believe that diversity is strength, she replied. That the combination of human creativity and virulent biological mastery could create something greater than either species could achieve alone. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship, a harmonic wailing that made my teeth ache. Through the viewports, I could see the pursuing warships gaining on us, their weapon systems beginning to glow with threatening energy. They're in weapons range, Dr. Castellanos reported, reading the ship's biodisplays with surprising fluency. Queen Zephyra turned to me, her compound eyes reflecting the crystal light. Marcus, your hybrid nature gives you abilities that neither species possesses alone, but to access them you must fully accept what you are. No more thinking of yourself as human with alien contamination, or as virulent trapped in human flesh. You are both, and you are neither. You are something new. The ship shuddered as the first plasma bolt struck our shields. I could feel the vessel's pain through some connection I didn't understand, as if the living ship and I were somehow linked. What do I need to do? I asked. Stop running, she said simply. Turn and face them. Show them what the hybrid program was truly meant to achieve. As if responding to my thoughts, the ship began to slow, then turned to face our pursuers. Through the viewports, I could see the massive warships approaching, their biomechanical hulls bristling with weapons that could reduce a planet to ash. But I was no longer afraid. The memories flowing through me carried something else. The knowledge that I was exactly where I was meant to be, facing exactly the choice I'd been born to make. Time to show two species what their child could become. Part 5. The Bridge Between Worlds. The lead warship filled the viewport, its surface covered in the angular bioarmor of the Deep Current clan. Weapon ports opened like hungry mouths, and I could see the plasma charges building within them, enough firepower to vaporize our much smaller vessel. They're hailing us, Dr. Castellanos reported from the ship's nerve center, her hands moving over controls that responded to her touch like living tissue. The clan leader wants to speak with the corrupted one before they execute judgment. Queen Zephyra looked at me with what I now recognized as protective concern. You don't have to face them, Marcus. We can still run. No, I said, feeling the weight of both my heritages settling into place. Running just delays the inevitable. It's time to end this, one way or another. The main viewer shifted, revealing the interior of the warship's command center. The being that appeared made Queen Zephyra seem delicate by comparison. Clan leader Vortan was massive even by Varellan standards, his exoskeleton scarred by countless battles and modified with biomechanical enhancements that spoke of extreme militarization. When he spoke, his voice carried the harmonic authority of absolute command. So, he said, his compound eyes focusing on me with predatory intensity, you are the abomination that has brought corruption to the Deep Current. You will surrender yourself for cleansing, or we will take you from the ashes of your protectors. I'm not surrendering to anyone, I replied, and felt something shift inside me as the words left my mouth. The ship's systems responded to my emotional state, bioluminescent panels brightening as if feeding off my determination. Vorthan's mandibles clicked in what I somehow knew was amusement. Brave words from a creature that is neither fish nor fowl. You are a mistake, hybrid, an experiment that should have been terminated in its infancy. Maybe, I said, stepping closer to the viewer. But I'm a mistake that's about to teach both our species something important. Behind Vortan, I could see other clan members, their aggressive postures making their intentions clear. But there was something else. Doubt? In some of their faces, uncertainty that hadn't been there before. They were seeing me speak their harmonic language perfectly, interfacing with Virilan technology as if I'd been born to it. You want to know what I am? I continued, feeling memories and abilities awakening in my hybrid nervous system. I'm proof that evolution doesn't respect the boundaries we create. I'm proof that life finds a way to combine, to grow, to become something new. I reached out to the ship's control systems, not with my hands, but with my mind, feeling the neural pathways that connected me to every biomechanical system on board. Through the ship's sensors, I could perceive the entire battle group, dozens of warships, thousands of Virilan warriors, all of them focused on destroying what they saw as genetic contamination. Impressive, Vorthon admitted. You interface with our technology as if it were part of your own body, but that only proves how deeply the corruption has spread. You are neither Virilan nor human. You are chaos given form. You're wrong, Dr. Castellanos said, stepping into view of the transmitter. I've spent 30 years analyzing his genetic structure. He's not chaos, he's harmony. He's what both our species could become if we stopped fearing each other. Vorthon's attention shifted to her, and I felt the ship's defensive systems respond to his increased aggression. The human speaks of things beyond her comprehension. Your species has had contact with ours for less than a standard cycle. We have existed for millions of years, perfecting our biological purity. And stagnating because of it, Queen Zephyra interjected. Vorthon, look at him. Really look. His hybrid nature doesn't weaken either genetic line. It combines their strengths. Human innovation merged with Virilan biological mastery. He represents the future of both our species. Through the ship's connection, I could feel the tension building in the deep current fleet. Some of the warriors were beginning to question their leader's absolute certainty, but Vorthon himself remained unmoved. Enough, he declared. Surrender, the abomination, or we open fire. You have 30 seconds. The transmission cut off, leaving us in the relative quiet of the ship's organic systems. Through the viewports, I could see weapon ports opening across the entire fleet, preparing to unleash destruction on a scale that would be visible from Earth. They're really going to do it, Dr. Castellanos whispered. Yes, Queen Zephyra confirmed. Vorthon has committed himself. To back down now would mean admitting that everything the Deep Current clan believes about genetic purity is wrong. I closed my eyes, feeling the ship's living systems pulse around me. Through the neural connection, I could sense not just our vessel but the entire battlefield. Every ship, every weapon, every frightened or angry warrior preparing for combat. And underneath it all, I felt something else. The quantum entanglement that connected all Virilan biotechnology. The shared genetic memory that linked every member of their species, including me. There's another way, I said, opening my eyes. But I need to trust what I am instead of fighting it. Marcus, Queen Zephyra began. No time to explain, I interrupted, placing my hands on the ship's primary neural interface. Just be ready to follow my lead. The connection exploded through my consciousness like lightning. Suddenly, I wasn't just linked to our ship. I was part of the entire Deep Current Fleet's bio-network. I could feel their confusion as my hybrid consciousness touched systems that should have been closed to anyone not of pure Virilan blood. Then I began to sing. Not with my voice, but with the harmonic frequencies encoded in my hybrid DNA. The song that echoed through the fleet's shared neural network wasn't human or Virilan, it was both, and something entirely new. It carried the memory of cooperation between species, the promise of what they could achieve together, and the simple truth that diversity strengthens rather than weakens the genetic pool. Through the network, I felt the warriors' confusion turn to wonder as they experienced human emotions filtered through Virilan biology. They felt my human creativity merge with Virilan biological mastery, creating possibilities that neither species had imagined alone. But most importantly, they felt the love that had created me, the love between species, between individuals, between the idea of what they were and what they could become. One by one, the weapon ports began to close. Forthon's voice cut through the network, filled with rage and disbelief. "What are you doing to my warriors?" "Showing them the truth," I replied through the harmonic link. "I'm not an abomination, Forthon. I'm evolution. I'm what happens when species stop fearing each other and start learning from each other." The connection held for another few moments, just long enough for every warrior in the fleet to experience what it felt like to be truly part of both worlds. Then I pulled back, exhausted but triumphant. On the main viewer, Vorthon appeared again, but his expression had changed. The absolute certainty was gone, replaced by something I'd never expected to see in the face of a deep current warrior. "Doubt, you have given us much to consider," he said finally. "This is not over, hybrid, but perhaps it does not need to end in destruction today." The warships began to withdraw, their threatening formations breaking apart as individual commanders grappled with what they'd experienced through the network. Some would undoubtedly remain hostile, but others would return to the collective with questions that might, eventually, lead to answers. Queen Zephyra placed one of her massive hands on my shoulder. "Well done, Kinhart. You have bought both our species time to grow." "Just time," I said, watching Earth grow larger in the viewport as we turned toward home. "The real work starts now." Dr. Castellanos smiled, and for the first time since this all began, it reached her eyes. "Your mother would be proud, Marcus. You've become exactly what she hoped you would be." Through the ship's sensors, I could feel both the approaching Earth and the distant Varellan territories, two civilizations that would need to learn to live with each other, and with the new forms of life that would emerge from their cooperation. I was no longer just Marcus Caney, the human translator, or even the hybrid child of two species. I was something new, a bridge between worlds and the first step toward a future neither species could imagine alone. The journey was just beginning,